Good morning. Yes, it really is that time, whatever that is, 1 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep. I'm a horrible insomniac, so I decided I was going to make some tea biscuits instead. Cardamom and lemon tonight, I think. I've got a recipe here that I've been testing for a while, and I can't get enough lemon in it, so I'm going to try a lemon magic trick using some citric acid. But first, I got to take care of some business here. While I was watching the playback from the last two tests, I realized that it's actually, that clock is loud enough that you guys can hear it ticking. I hope that doesn't drive you nuts. I'm going to go shopping for better stuff, lights and cameras and things like that. There we go. That is now the subscribe mortar and pestle. I need to move it over some. Gets in the way of the graphic. There we go. I'm pleased with that. Okay, so cardamom and lemon tea cookies. I'm trying to watch the little indicator, so pardon my pauses. And this is still very much new territory testing for me, so bear with me, guys. But first and foremost, we need to oven preheat. Oven to, let's call it 175 C, which is, what is that, 350 Fahrenheit. I'm going to go do that before I forget. And I'm going to prep my tray. I don't know what that is. Looks like something left over from pizza night. You could absolutely use parchment paper. I use parchment all the time for this kind of thing. But since I've got one, I am going to go ahead and use my fancy schmancy French Silpat silicone mat. That will be perfect for cookies. Biscuits, if you prefer to call them that. If anybody's watching, you can, I don't know, vote on what color to make the cookies. So this is 115 grams or so, I'm going to guess. Let's find out. Am I good or what? 115 grams of slightly softened butter. In it goes. I wonder if you guys, this is the first time I've used the KitchenAid on camera, which is kind of what I'm testing tonight. So you guys can just barely see that in frame, I think. Sorry, that's about as close as it gets because I don't want to lift the thing up. It weighs a ton. I don't want to lift it up and put it onto the bench because with my luck, it would crash and burn. All right, so butter, I need sugar. And the last time I did this, there wasn't enough sugar in it. I need to up that a bit. Making a racket. All right, so last time I did 100 grams of sugar. I think I'm going to go up to like 175. This is the joys of recipe testing, is you just kind of fake it and see what happens. So these may run. If the problem with putting in too much sugar is that they would run everywhere in the oven, spread too far. But I'm going to risk it because they needed it for sure. 175 grams or so of sugar. I don't know what that is. That's probably, what? It's probably 3/4 of a cup. But you should be weighing your ingredients. So cream the sugar and butter together. If I can reach around here and get to the lift. That butter might be just a little bit too hard, but it'll get there in the end. While that's creaming, I can go ahead and add in some, well, actually I'm going to wait. What else I've got in the recipe? I've got vanilla extract, cardamom. I'm going to be using cardamom seed. This is, of course, what cardamom pods look like, but when you open those seeds up, those pods up, you get the little decorticated seeds in there. And that's what I'm going to grind down. But it doesn't take much. The problem is the cardamom is so strong. That's why it was overpowering the lemon. I wasn't getting enough lemon through there. So I'm going to go real easy on this measure of cardamom. Yes, I could grind it in the mortar and pestle because it's not that much. But I'm going to use my trusty old electric coffee mill. What did I do last time? Last time I did half a teaspoon of cardamom, and that was it was about right. It was just, like I say, too strong for the lemon. So half a teaspoon of, that's called decorticated cardamom seed. But if you open the pods yourselves and extract the seeds, that's even fresher. Just don't use the pre-ground stuff because it really doesn't last. The character of the cardamom really evaporates quickly. All right, I think that is, see how that's, I hope you guys can see that. Maybe you can't. I'll show you. Well, all right, so you see how that's all fluffy and whipped together? It could probably go just a little bit longer, but that is the creaming method, creaming your sugar and butter together. And what you're really doing at that point is incorporating air. And your butter really needs to be just the right temperature for that to happen appropriately. Now if I can get this back on. Yeah, this little setup is going to need some rethinking. All right, so I need a little bit of salt in there. I'm going to do a half a teaspoon of salt. This makes probably 24 smallish, 36 smallish, 24 medium cookies. Not a huge batch, but it's enough to keep you happy in the morning. So now I'm going to grind my cardamom seed down nice and fine. I actually keep several of these coffee mills around because I use one for sweet things, one for savory things, one for really, really stinky things. You know, you don't want to cook your cardamom for your sweet cookies after doing your curry, although that might be an interesting flavor experiment. But that ground, there you go, half a teaspoon of cardamom going in there, a little bit left over, so let's go just a little extra. And I need to get some vanilla extract in there. I'm a big fan of vanilla. I'm going a full teaspoon in there. And need to get an egg. This is egg Happy Egg from Happy Chickens, because it's from my neighbor who has chickens. In goes the egg. Probably should have done that into something else just to make sure it was a good egg, but I'm living on the edge. So let's go ahead and whisk that together. Need to go get my flour. Watch that for me, would you? Just plain old all-purpose flour tonight. You don't need to bother with cake flour or anything special. Let me get my spatula and scrape down these sides just so everything gets well incorporated. I really like this idea of cooking live because there's so many cooking videos out there and they're so highly edited, and I think that really kind of sets a false impression for people that are cooking at home. I think they need to see real time and mistakes, things like that. So I am going to need 275 grams of flour. I hurt my finger the other day, and this is really, I'm going slow because it hurts like heck. Maybe I'll do it left-handed. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Something's clogging up my sifter. It may just be my hand. It's getting there. It's just being slow for some reason. I have a real problem with humidity here, and sometimes that can gum up the works. You probably saw that sugar earlier. It's a little sticky here. But that eventually is 275 grams of flour. Get there in the end. There we go. 275 grams of flour and a mess. Something for the cats to track their paws through later. Now here, a little baking powder. What did I use? A teaspoon last time, I think? Yeah, it was a teaspoon, so 2 half teaspoons. I'm going to go into the flour with it. A lot of times people, when they first start baking, they think more is always a good thing, and you can really go overboard with baking powder, baking soda, all of the rising agents. More isn't automatically a good thing. Sometimes you put in more so it rises and falls. Sometimes you use a combination, but do what the recipe says, basically. Don't put in a little extra skosh thinking it's a good thing all the time. Now here's the real decision on the lemon. Last time I did lemon juice and a little bit of this lemon extract, and it just wasn't coming through. The lemon juice wasn't holding up to the cardamom. So I am going to go with, I'll still use a little tiny bit of extract. I'm going to use half. What did I do last time? I did a quarter teaspoon of extract last time, so I'm going to do a half a teaspoon of extract this time. I don't usually like using extracts when I can get away with the natural stuff, but like I say, the lemon juice just could not hold up to the baking. So Going to do that, and now here is my secret magic ingredient. This is pure citric acid. You can get it all kinds of places, but I get mine at the local brew shop. I don't know exactly what they're using it for in brewing circles, but it is incredibly concentrated lemon flavor. And I'm debating whether or not to do a quarter teaspoon or a half teaspoon. And I think, let's go nuts. I'm going to do a half teaspoon. That's 2 quarter teaspoons. And if they're too lemony, I'll know for next time. I should probably make a note. This is something else I should point out. I always write down my recipes, but then I have to go in and write them down again, so I remember what I did. All right, so this time I did do 175. That's good. And I went to 1/2 teaspoon of lemon extract, and I did do 1/2 teaspoon of citric acid. Why are my cats running around like crazy? What are you two girls doing? Settle down. They think I'm up in the middle of the night for playing chasing games. Baking powder, got the egg in there. All right. We'll see what happens. We'll leave that out just in case. I already told you guys that the oven's heating up. These bake for probably around 16 minutes. They're not long. I cut them, roll them relatively thin. So plan accordingly. But these are not, in my opinion, they're not as good hot out of the oven like some cookies. These I actually do want to cool. And I might even make an icing for them while they bake. I'm not sure if I've got that kind of motivation tonight. But I have to, no matter what, I have to work this flour in, and I'm going to work it in relatively slowly. I'm just getting those other additions mixed in a little bit. But I don't want to dump it in all at once. I want to ease in the dry ingredients, basically. Also prevents the cloud of flour from popping up in my face. The joys of being an insomniac food writer. Well, I should have put this in earlier, but I think I'm going to make these yellow. Yellow seems like a good color for cardamom and lemon tea biscuits. You, of course, don't have to do any kind of color, but it's fun. That was 6 drops, the color. Just heard my oven go off for preheating, so that's a good sign. And that is mixed. You don't want to, once you get the flour in there, you don't want to mix them too long because you don't want them to get tough. Let's see how we did. Curious thing, I was talking about the sugar amounts. Sugar is actually considered a wet ingredient. When you're writing recipes, you think of it as wet, not dry. I don't know why I always found that fascinating, but it's because the sugar melts in the oven, of course, but it's not wet when it goes in, but those are recipe writing conventions, so I'm not going to argue with them. There. Get the last half cookie off of the beater. Yeah, I can definitely taste the. Woo. What did I do? Half a teaspoon of citric acid? Maybe should have been a quarter teaspoon, because it's coming through, but whew, that's good. I like that. It'll be a little bit more muted once it's baked, of course, so we may have nailed it with that amount. Good work, YouTube. All right, so let's get these out. I'm going to put them onto plastic wrap so I can chill them a little bit. I want to chill them. The idea being you want that butter to firm up a little bit more so it doesn't spread too much once it goes in the oven. So I probably should have waited and preheated my oven a little bit later, but I'm not going to chill them for long, maybe 5-10 minutes, just to take the heat of being worked off of them. Yeah, I'm digging that for the lemon potency. Oh yeah. It knocks the cardamom back just a little bit. I'm pleased with that. I'm very pleased with that, actually. If you don't want to watch this whole video, don't worry. I'm going to write down this recipe once I'm sure that it's as good as I think it is. But I'm really pleased with that. If I had a lemon this morning, I would have thrown in some lemon zest too, just for a little extra kick. But quite honestly, that citric acid is doing the trick. I don't think we need that. Just forming it into a little bit of a log. I should probably do a better job of this, but all right, fine. I'll do a better job of it. I'll make it into a better log. I could certainly make these refrigerator cookies and just cut discs from this log, but I'm actually going to roll it out and use a cookie cutter on it. But the reason I'm putting it into that shape is so that it chills a little bit quicker. I don't want a big blob. I want it spread out so that the cold of the fridge gets to it a little bit easier. In fact, since it's going to be such a short chill, I'm actually going to go into the freezer with it very briefly. So I'll be right back. This is me juggling the peas in the freezer. This is me doing the dishes in the background. All right, there we go. I think that worked reasonably well. You guys could see the blender okay, right? I'll put this there. Near the decks a little bit behind the scenes. Those might not even need an icing. I mean, you could certainly make a quick little fancy schmancy icing for piping pretty pictures on them, but I'm going to eat all of these with tea probably within a day, if I know me. So Not necessary. I think they're going to be sweet enough with that extra sugar in there. If you wanted, I don't usually like my cookies incredibly sweet. I like them slightly sweet. I don't take sugar in my tea anymore either. I've kind of gotten off of that treadmill. So I'm not looking for them to be sickly sweet, but that's the beauty of icing is you can leave it on or take it off. You don't have to re-engineer the whole cookie recipe. When I did this before with only 100 grams of sugar, I knocked down the amount of flour, but I've compensated for that. The 275 grams of flour should match the 175 grams of sugar in this particular recipe. So I'm going to go futz with some of the computer controls real quick, so you guys stay tuned, hang out, and I will shape and cut. Oh, I'll show you my cutter here. Let's see, where is it? If I can get to the silly thing. There you go. Told you they were tea biscuits, shaped like teapots. What are you doing? What are you doing? Sorry, the cat was digging in the herbs. She loves hydroponics. I know listening to me do dishes is kind of boring. Sorry about that. I should have, I don't know, old Julia Child videos playing or something for the boring parts while I'm waiting for rises and chills and oven preheats, things like that. This is part of what we're figuring out, how to make live, real-time cooking interesting. Maybe I could do a puppet show, song and dance, tell bad jokes. I don't have any jokes, sorry. I am not a comedian, at least not in anybody else's mind. I laugh at myself quite a lot. Okay, I'm going to go poke buttons on the computer. I'll be back in just a few minutes after that cookie dough has time to chill. I'll be needing my fancy schmancy rolling pin in a minute. The little green blinky green lights on the stream ingestion gizmo thingy have stayed green this time. I hope that means I've got the settings right. If it looks crappy, you guys let me know. I'll watch the playback, but I may need to get a computer upgrade to make this more bearable. I just realized my clock has stopped or gotten stuck. I think this is my battery dying. I unearthed this poor thing from the closet. Yeah, I think that battery's dead. Well, maybe not. Maybe it just wants attention. You guys could have said something. I'm sitting here cooking away and the clock is stuck. You'll see if that fixes it. It was a 50-cent clock. I'm not too convinced on the quality level of the clock. Yeah, see, it's stopped again, I think. Yeah, that battery's just dying. I need to get a new battery. See if my array of half-dead batteries, I use rechargeables, but they even seem to wear out over time. And I never can remember which ones I've charged and which ones I haven't. I should probably have a system, eh? Oh, that sounds stronger. Let's see if that does better. It's making the big ticky noise. I just realized that it's louder with that battery in it. Yeah, I think the other battery's just dead. It's amazing how much the camera picks up that extra bit of white and changes the color spectrum of the camera. Once I get the replay on this, I can edit out all of the boring stuff. At least I think I can. Dang, I'm having all kinds of issues with this clock. What is up with that? Two different batteries. Now I'm suspecting the $1 investment on the clock might be at fault here. I do not want to add much flour, if any at all, when I roll these out. So I'm being very light-handed here. Just enough to keep it from sticking to the board. And of course now that I've got it working, the clock is off because it sat still for so long. Oh. What time is it? 1:50 in the morning, and I am on YouTube making cookies. What does that say about my world? Now, for anybody tuning in late, they're going to think that was just a crazy fast edit. There we go. Time travel and cookie making in the same video. Okay, I'm going to rush it a little bit, just for you guys. But even that 5 minutes chill is enough to help the dough along. And ideally, I would have done that for, as I say, half an hour at minimum, maybe even a day or two in advance if you want to make the dough ahead of time. So I'm going to do, that should make, I'm going to do 2 batches. This will go back in to chill for tomorrow's tea. And now, yeah, you can feel that that dough is nice and cold now. I don't want these too thick, but I don't want them too thin. I know that's not helping much, but when you make them too thin, they get, in my opinion, too crisp in the oven, even at 350. So I just know what I want them to be, and I'll tell you after the fact what it is. That is 1/4 inch. No, I know. I've got a ruler here somewhere. Where is my ruler? No, no, no. Aha! All nerd bakers have a ruler. So this is probably 5 centimeters. That's 1/3 of an inch, less than 1/4 of an inch. No, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's, damn it, Pete. The dorky ruler doesn't start at the edge of the ruler. That's bad design right there. I'm going to call that 1/4 inch. It is 1/4 inch. Now, play a little cookie cutter Tetris. Get as many out of this as I can. Like most pastry, you don't want to overwork it if you can avoid it, but with rolled cookies, there's a degree of assumption that you're going to have to re-roll a little bit, kind of built into the recipes. My palette knife under them. I should have floured that board just a little bit better, but these will work. I'd rather have slightly wetter dough so that I don't get overly dry cookies. This could probably take just a little tiny bit more flour, but remember, in this test I've upped the sugar content considerably, so this is part of the experimentation process. Yeah, see, I should have floured that board a little bit more. You don't get this kind of mistake in edited cooking videos. This is live. See, that one comes off fine where I had enough flour on the board. Oh, screwed up my spout. Nobody likes an overly dry cookie though, so I like to err to the side of caution when it comes to adding flour. All right, so we'll do a better job on this batch, this roll. So a little bit more flour than my stingy hands were doing earlier. That is my 1/4 inch. So what am I going to get here? 12? 12 out of half of the batch, so the whole batch is making me 24 cookies. Remember, I put half of it away for later, and it will suffer nothing at all by sitting in that fridge for an extra day or two. If unlike me, you can't eat 24 cookies in one day, I swear I can. I'm even going to get a bonus cookie. When you get an odd number like that, this cookie never existed. It goes into the dark space and it can be eaten without guilt. I think all odd number cookies have 0 calories. I think that's a rule. Do I want one more? Do I want one more, or do I want to eat raw cookie dough, which is, as we all know, absolutely delicious. All right, so I'll get one more cookie out of it. One more slightly wonky cookie. All right. My oven is preheated again to 350, 175 Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit. Probably 6 minutes. Spin the tray, and then anywhere from 4 to 6 more minutes, just until they very, very slightly go golden. You do not want to overbake any cookie ever. So basically, if they look done when you pull them out, you waited too long. You want to pull them out before that. So into the oven they go. But don't underestimate the value of that spin on the tray, especially for a thin cookie like that. Spinning the tray really ensures that you're going to get a good bake on them. Just about every home oven out there is going to have some degree of wonkiness to it as far as even heating. So you definitely want to try to minimize that with the midway spin. So I don't think I'm going to do an icing for these. I think icing would be kind of overkill. But I do want to dust them a little bit with powdered sugar. You're saying, well, that's easy to do. You just go grab the powdered sugar. Well, you heard me earlier say that I've got a real problem with humidity here. And anytime I buy powdered sugar, I mean, almost before I open the package, it's got that nasty, weird, stale kind of flavor to it. So I stopped buying powdered sugar, and what I do is I make my own powdered sugar using my handy dandy coffee mill. And you see I've got just that little tiny bit of cardamom left in there. So watch this trick. Plain old ordinary granulated sugar, right? By the way, granulated sugar is, what, half the price of powdered sugar? So there's a good way to save. Even if you don't have humidity problems, you're going to save some money. What is that, half a cup of plain old granulated sugar? With that little dose of cardamom in it for these cookies will be beautiful. I think you can do this in a food processor, but in a food processor, a fairly powerful food processor, it flies around if you don't use a lot. So if you want to make a small batch, this coffee mill trick works better. And there, powdered sugar, barely indistinguishable from the other stuff. It grinds down very, very quickly. Just that little tiny bit of cardamom in there is great. And because I live on the edge and I don't have any fear of my neighbor's eggs, raw cookie dough. Don't try this at home. Well, all right, you're going to try this at home. But, ooh, that's good. Well, that's really good. That lemon, that citric acid, really coming through. Oh, yeah. I'm definitely writing this recipe down. You guys are going to want to make some of these. The citric acid, by the way, is really, really cheap. I think you can get a pound of it for $1.50, something like that. So it is not expensive. It's just a matter of tracking it down. If you can't find it at a local brew shop, I am sure you can find it online somewhere. But don't pay, $8, $10, $12 a pound for a little tiny. I've seen people sell it for $10 for a little tiny 2-ounce bag because people don't know really what it should cost. It is dirt cheap. I think if I was buying a big bag for my old business, we'd get 50-pound sacks of the stuff for like $20. I mean, it's that cheap. So go hunting, go to your local rest and supply if you don't have a brew shop. Go online, but don't pay through the nose for it. That's working really well. Of course, whatever I don't use here in the next few minutes is going to be susceptible to picking up the humidity that usually isn't a problem. So I'm either going to seal it down really well or find something to cook with the leftovers from half a cup of powdered sugar. There you go. Making your own flavored powdered sugar. If I have any left over, that would be awesome in making a batch of chai. Why does it keep falling over? Because chai is going to have cardamom and sugar in it anyway. Nothing in this kitchen goes to waste. There's my timer for spinning. They look like they're on track to be baked, as I mentioned earlier, in about the 10, 12-minute mark. Your oven may vary, of course, but watch them close. I'm not playing any music tonight because when I listened to the playback, it sounded really, really bad. I've just got to get better mics, and I've also got to find a copyright-free stream of music. I don't mind classical music at all, and I'm sure there's something out there that I can do, but I don't want to get in any copyright trouble. So someday I will add music, but it's kind of a low priority. If anybody knows how to cleverly add music to the stream and how to fix a damn clock, then let me know. Send me an email or a message or whatever you do on Facebook, Tweety Space, Insta, Google, whatever this thing's called. YouTube. That's what it's called, YouTube. You will want a cooling rack for these. I'm going to start saving my preheat cards because there's only, what, 6 or 8 temperatures. Recycle these. Where am I going to put my notes? Now, did I write down all my changes appropriately? Yes. Got that. Got that. Got that. Cool. I can reproduce them. And it's 6-man, spin, 4-man. Cool. Like I say, I'll go type this recipe up for you guys. It'll be on my website. The website is up in the corner. Which corner? It's in that? No, it's not. No, it's in this corner. Yeah, the website's up in this corner, up here. No, that's not right either. It's up in this corner. The website's over in this corner. One of those click thingy mabobbers will take you to my website where you can find this recipe and all the craziness that I do up here. This corner right here, right? This corner. And by the way, thanks. If I don't have any ads turned on for this, but ultimately when I start doing this, if you guys watch the ads that spin and run and such, that's what pays me a couple pennies and lets me keep doing this for you guys. So thank you for doing that. 2 minutes to cookies. What are we going to call these? Mr. Spork's Midnight YouTube Lemon Cardamom Tea Cookies. There we go. They are quite pale, but I can just see and feel the edges starting to turn. I might give these 1 more minute at most. But you definitely don't want them dark and brown and golden already on the pan because they are going to keep cooking. So yeah, names. Mr. Spork's 2 a.m. bad clock cookies. Why does it keep doing that? What is up with that thing? It's got to be the battery. I've got some more on the charger. Maybe that'll fix that. But don't go by this clock when you're figuring out the baking times. 6 minutes spin, 4 minutes plus maybe 1 for these cookies. This, by the way, is where I'm keeping my induction cooktop thing, but it throws off such a stupid glare. I wanted to cover it with something when I wasn't using it. I like the stars. It's very wizardy. Yeah, this thing is totally wonky. Because it is now 2:14-ish in the morning. I wonder if it's because I've got it setting on what I've got it setting on, something pushing on the back. I need a clock engineer, or I need to spend more than $1 on a clock. I wanted something analog. You guys have enough digital in your world. Okay, those are now done. I wish I could tell you an easier way, but what I'm doing is I'm feeling this edge right here, and I can feel that that edge is just set. I can also see my tips are just barely starting to turn a golden brown, which the tip being stuck out there on its own would be the first thing to go brown. But the main thing is do not overbake. Now I'm going to let these cool for a good 10, 15, 20 minutes. Then I will dust them, but you can see it's going to look kind of like, I'll use a proper sieve to dust them. And the sugar I'm putting on right now is going to melt into it, but that's what it's going to look like eventually. They're polka dotted teapots kind of thing. So anyway, I am now going to go try to fix my clock and let the cookies cool and maybe even get some sleep if my insomnia has subsided. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you bearing with me during these video tests. And these, if the dough is any indication, are going to taste fabulous. So go get that recipe out of my blog. I will have it typed up for you here in the next hour or two. All right. Talk to you guys later. Cheers.